Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fifth episode of Building with Joao. It's already the fifth episode. It's already 1 month that I'm in this series of podcasts. It has been a really nice experience. I can share what I'm doing with everyone in the community, take some topics that are been important during this week for me, and then reflect on that and sharing some learnings with everyone. So I'm really enjoying. Thank you for listening and providing feedback. This really keeps me boosting. So if you are listening to this podcast, just say I, send me a DM and share with me what you liked and what could be improved. This really helped me keep going and keep motivating to this type of podcast. Talking about this week. So as you may have known, I've been working on Veertly for 4 years. The Veertly has recently been acquired by Swisscom. And we are now starting talking with them, and I'm working with them closely to keep the product growing and keep the developing on their end. And one thing that we started talking this week was about roadmap, what we're going to do in the next weeks, in the next months, in the next quarters, and see what the product will evolve to. And that's what I want to talk with everyone today is about roadmaps, how I've been dealing with them during the journey of Virt. What are the parts that I think can be dangerous about roadmaps? What are the good things of roadmaps? And how I see that also on the bootstrap and indie hacking type of project. And what should we do, or how can we handle better the roadmaps so that it gives value, but also not being a burden? That's what I want to start. Why roadmaps are important, and also why should we be careful about it? I put that into three different aspects. I think roadmaps are really important, and that's where I want to start. Why roadmaps are important. So I've put that into three different perspectives. One is about the internal, about your company, about your team. I think roadmaps are really crucial to create alignment inside your team. It's a really good way for everybody to be, okay, this is the direction that we want to go. This is where we want to go. And for me, that's the most important thing of a roadmap. It doesn't need to be precise. It doesn't need to be detailed to the months, week, days. But it gives them this alignment, this idea where things are going and moving, and that everybody talks the same language. And instead of having different priorities on the mind of each one. When you are working on a team, this is super critical. But roadmaps are also very important for the external people, because especially for your customers. Every customer that wants to have a long-term commitment with you, they want to know where you are going with your project. Do you have a vision? Do you have an idea where the project will evolve? I might not be fully satisfied yet with the product or not fulfilling all my needs, but I know that these might come in the future because I know where they are going and what are the roadmaps that they have. So this is crucial for your customers to have an idea, but this can also be super dangerous. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. And another important aspect, especially not so much on the bootstrap mode, but especially on a VC world and when you have investment, is about your stakeholders. Stakeholders really trust your story, trust where you want to go, not what you have done so far or only what you have done and what you are doing today. It's really about the future because they are investing for a long-term return on their investment. So the roadmap and their vision is super crucial for them. So these are three things that are very important for roadmaps, and we need to be cautious about it and align all the interests of the different parts so that we can take the max of building roadmaps. But on the other side, roadmaps can be really dangerous for a team. You lose a lot of time planning it. Sometimes you are really going into the details, into really, especially on how the implementation will going to be. That's one aspect of losing time because you don't focus only on the needs, but you start talking about exactly how you're going to do and how much time it's going to take. So if you don't control your roadmap definition sessions, this can be really very lengthy process, and you should be really taking cautious about that so that you don't lose a lot of time in the planning sessions. And because you don't know how this is going to be. So the more detail you are, the more probability that this is going to be wrong. And because you don't know how this is going to be, if you create a roadmap and you need to change it, this will create also frustration on your team and on your customers. But especially I feel this frustration can be really important. Like the fact that you have a roadmap, but you never achieve what you have defined, especially for the team and internal frustration, this is critical. The customers can handle it, I feel, because they can adjust. They have less strength on this process. But for your team, this can be very nefast for your team. So you should be careful of not creating this feeling of commitment and then don't be able to achieve it. So it's super important to keep that in mind, that and also be always transparent that roadmaps are something volatile. So something that change, that evolves with the time. So it's a guideline, but it's not a fully detailed plan that you need to follow line by line. And another problem of roadmaps as well, depending on how granular you'll go, is that it doesn't give detail for the unpredictability that exists on the world. The world is full of unpredictable things. Everything is changing every day, and you don't know what's going to come. So you should give space on your roadmaps to change it, so that it can evolve with what's coming, what you're observing from the world. This is really critical. If you don't give this space, your roadmap will never be successful, and you'll never be able to use it for your benefit. So my suggestion to handle roadmaps is first to do it very lean. Do it simple. Just some bullet points, of course, with the duration of the time. Like you can define it more precisely for the next week, for the next 2 weeks eventually, for the next 3 weeks, starting to be less and less precise. 1 month, you can already have a good ideas. A quarter is nearly already getting hard to predict what you're going to do in the next 3 months. Half a year, for sure, things will never gonna make it. That's I can bet on that. You should the preciseness of your roadmap should be less and less precise with the lens that it has. Okay, for that, please go deep, like it's the planning, like the sprint planning. But the more you go further, just give guidelines and ideas. So really be lean and quick. Keep it to the bare minimum. Don't stay too much time focusing on the details. Okay, this might be good. When the time comes, we'll reevaluate and see if this will come or not. And take the roadmaps as a guideline. And I like that to your team. This is just some guidelines. Things will change. You don't need to, not something that you need to stick to it like a Bible. So you need to get this approach and flexibility from your team and from your customers and from your stakeholders, that the roadmap is just a guideline. All the roadmaps that I did on Veertly, we were doing that we did pop-up office with our team. So we did a presentation more from the founders, and we were sharing what would be the roadmap, what we want to do, what we want to work, to create this alignment between each other. But the roadmaps, we barely match something beyond 1 month, because things will change. So you need to get this mindset of this is a guideline, creates alignment, but you don't need to stick to it. And be humble. Accept that things will not be fulfilled for you, for your team, and be humble about it, adjust it, give space for this unpredictable and the change that the world will give you. Don't stick to a feature just because it's on your roadmap. Accept it and be able to skip it if it's really needed. And as I've had an experience on a VC world, I want also to share what's the difference between the VC world and the bootstrap mode, because I think this is also interesting, because roadmaps become much more important on the VC world. As I mentioned, VC invests on the story, the future. So this roadmap is really critical for them. So you are selling this roadmap, this story, this project to them. So you also, on the other side, you also tend to overpromise on these stories. So you should be careful on when doing these roadmaps and on selling this to your investors, because you might be overpromising too much. And then when it comes to the implementation, your mindset shifts to a bootstrap mode, where you are focused more on the execution, on the profitability of your company, on making something that works, which might not be aligned with the story that you sold to your investors. So you should really be careful also on this part. It's important to sell a story, to be able to convince them, but it also should be careful to not overpromise, because when you implement, the reality will be completely different, and you don't want to create frustration nor on your team nor on your investors, because then this would create a bad feeling with everyone, and that's not the way to go. So be clear everywhere, every time. This is where we plan to go, but this is just a plan. It's not really the execution that we're gonna follow. So be clear about that with the investors and all your stakeholders that are part of your journey. On the bootstrap mode, as I mentioned, we are really focused on the profitability. So the story itself is much less important. But it's not that it's not important at all. You still should keep this story, should still keep having this where we're gonna go. Because it's important for you to think beyond what you are only executing. And I've been making these mistakes in my recent project. Start immediately with implementation, start immediately with coding, and don't talk with customers to understand their problems. Don't plan it much ahead. And okay, this is what we want to do. This is also the vision that you want to get, because this will align also your development and not only trying to get into what makes more sense in the short term. So this is something that you should find a good trade-off between the vision, the story, and your execution, and not only just now. So you should still keep this notion for if you are bootstrapping, and not only today and today. And because it's not only for you, for your own planning, even if you are a solopreneur, that you don't have a team, but if you have yourself and your mind, you should keep this in mind. But also for your customers, because customers like a roadmap. It's the same thing as a VC or customer. It doesn't matter. Customers like a roadmap. They like to trust the project on the long term. Because if I'm getting a subscription for a project, I don't want to change it in a few months because it's not fulfilling my needs, or the project doesn't exist anymore. So they like these long-term horizons. This gives them trust. So you need to have some kind of public information that is shared with your customers about the features that might come and so on. One suggestion that I give, never commit on dates unless you really need to. For example, on Veertly, we have events, so we can't know when things are coming in the future in terms of usage. And for some of the events, customers like to have specific features. So we need to implement some features that are ready by that event. This is a clear case that we really need to commit and fulfill this roadmap for that specific feature. And we did that for some of them, always cautious about the execution, that we can really make it. And that's possible to be interrupted or disrupted. So you really need to commit to it and implement it by that day. So in this case, you have this commitment. But most of the cases, we never commit on features. We had a public board where people could submit their feature requests. We also put them some there. We interact with the customers. Kenny that's what the tool that we were using. It's a very good tool for that, to be honest. It's really flexible, simple, and you can create this community around your product. This gives visibility for your customers about what might come. Okay, this is not a project that it's just one feature. It's that nothing more will come, but there are some ideas to the future. At the same time, you are not forced to commit to any of them by a specific date. This openness, but at the same time, not blocking yourself, is super important, in my opinion. And that's a good way that I propose for you to keep this kind of roadmap visible for your customers, but don't limit yourself to that. Yeah, and get feedback from the environment, from the world around you, see the things that have changed, see the things that might impact your business, and from there, just adjust your roadmap, adjust your planning to your own needs and to what you think it would be good. Yeah, this was a little bit lengthier than usual podcast, but it's a topic that I've been super involved in during the build of Veertly, and that I'm less focusing right now on my own project, which I'm not sure it's the right way, as I shared during this episode. I think, as a summary, roadmaps are super important to engage with your team, to make the alignment with your team, to create engagement with your customers, so that this gives them clarity, and to build trust between you and your stakeholders and investors. It can also be super dangerous because you can lose a lot of time in these planning sessions. It can create frustration on your team and on your customers if you don't fulfill your roadmap. And at the same time, it limits you on the flexibility, doesn't give you so much space to handle the unpredictable world that exists outside of your own project, and that you need to adjust to adjust your roadmap, adjust your features, adjust your product based on what around the world, around your product. Yeah, so my suggestion to keep the roadmaps, be lean, do it quickly, don't spend too much time. Take it as a guideline and highlight it for your team, for your customers, for your investors, and be humble about it. Assume that, okay, things change, we're not going to do it. It's fine. There are other things that we feel that are more important right now. Yeah, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed. If you are still tuning, just say hi, send me a DM about what you think about it, how you are handling these roadmaps. I'm super curious, especially on the indie world, on the bootstrap mode. How are you doing? Are you doing this type of roadmaps? Do you have a clear vision where things are go, or doing it planning week by week? This would help me also a lot improving the way I'm managing these new projects. So happy to hear from all of you, and have a great week, everyone.